Thanks for tuning in again, guys. We are episode 43 of AEZ Canada All Elite Zone on this fine Tuesday night here on YouTube, as we are every single week. And I have my co-host from across the border, Adam. How are you doing today, sir? And how's your week been?
Good. As before we came on, you can see I was yawning. It's been a long day from work, so waking up and then working 10 hours and then coming here and doing this fun stuff. But I'm good. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally get it. It's tiring using your brain for things and learning's tough.
Well, it doesn't also help that I'm in a warehouse where I'm on my feet all day. So,
Oh, yeah, I get that too. Yeah, I totally get it. I started a new industry. I started in January, completely different. 6 months, later, big difference, right? But again, it's one of those things. It always sucks when you start something like a new job because you just feel like you don't know anything. But again, just like everyone's got to learn. So, and it can be tiring, especially different to change. But so, anyways, good on you. You're here, so we appreciate that. Thanks again, Adam, for another great week. I think again, every single week seems to be full of wrestling storylines these days. But I thought tonight, we can catch up on, or maybe comment on some of the kind of the storylines, maybe some ideas. I was thinking, we could touch on, the MJF and Roosh, how the build up, right, to Forbidden Door. How do we like that matchup? I thought we can also touch on, the TNT ladder match to decide the new TNT champion that's coming up. Is the BCC going to be getting a new push now that Wheeler's back? And what do we think? Are we buying the learning tree? Are we finding it's a bit of a dying tree? Can talk about that and what your thoughts are, and really. Also, maybe want to mention, how do we like the storytelling that AEW does with their vignettes? And how do we feel about that quality? So those are some of the things that just wanted to touch on for tonight. And of course, we welcome anyone who's watching, tuning in. If there's any comments, please feel free. We always love to hear from you as well, so I appreciate that. But Adam, maybe we'll just start off. It's the last item on my list here, and it's kind of glaring. I know we kind of brushed on, and again, we know we are huge Jericho fans. We've always talked about him and love him and respect his body of work always. But as he's approaching, I guess, the tail end of his career in terms of the in-ring version of Jericho. He's very active in everything else that's wrestling for sure, and with music. But how do we feel about this learning tree gimmick and his kind of this new attitude, persona? Love Jericho. I think he's been great at everything. But is this a bit tiresome, right? Is it working? Do we like the guys that are with them? Do we think it's helping them? What are your thoughts so far on what we've seen?
As far as that, I mean, Jericho has presented us with a lot of great characters in his career. I mean, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Mr. Suit World Heavyweight Champion, the Painmaker, La Champion. So he's granted us the Wizard. Yeah, so he's granted us a lot of great character and a great development of changing his style, more so his personality. But I just don't think this learning tree is it for me. I think this is more so like his online persona. I think, especially that video after he won the triple threat match and he posted a video to like his socials, smiling, going, "Hey guys, it's great. Learning tree is getting the support from you guys." Like I'm like, come on, Chris. I was like, we can do better than this, and I do think that I'm hoping that this character in general, as far as the people involved in his group, which is Big Bill and the bounty hunter, Brian Keith, I'm hoping that helps them a little bit, but also I'm hoping that elevates Hook back. I know a lot of people don't get behind Hook, but he is kind of like the future of pro wrestling at his age. I mean, he's got a great talent in his dad, who's got a history of pro wrestling in his blood. But I also think like this is an opportunity for Chris to kind of pass down that whole "let me teach you" moment kind of stuff, and maybe this could be the final character that he does. I mean, the idea to me is that trees are part of life, but trees can also wither away and die. So I mean, if this can come down to a story where someone like a Hook or someone over there goes after Jericho for that FTW title and adds the stipulation, like, and if you lose, you're done with wrestling. Like,
Mhm.
you lose your title, but you lose your career. Something along those lines, to where he finishes up with this weird in between heel face character that once it's over, we can look back like, okay, maybe not the best way to end his career on that character, but at least he ended his career and now he's handing the momentum to these younger guys. Not saying that, the Bounty Hunter or Big Bill are young, but, they're younger, so I'm hoping for this character that it'll be the last character that he kind of does and kind of just, again, like you said, we respect Chris, but it is at that dwindle of his career where it's like, listen, I think you would be great as more of like a, a coach, backstage, or a talent agent for like the talent, something that Jim Ross does, but you could do AEW. So I mean, those are my 2 cents on the
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah, you know what? I do actually really like him. I think I'd love to still have him as a personality. I think he's a great, and I don't see like if he does move into more of the corporate side of things, I could definitely, I mean, see like he loves the host stuff. I could see him being part of in the cities to really big up, right? So he's a really good in for the interviews, the podcast. So like you said, I think he still has. He'd be great more as a manager role. I think he could do be a good mouthpiece for some of these younger guys. So I definitely like to see him around. I enjoy him. And I used to love him. I actually, when he was first started doing the Rampage commentary, I thought he was really funny. I liked what he was doing there. Not so much. Yeah, this character. I mean, it's just one of those things. You obviously know he's a heel, and doing that kind of like I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of when Bray Wyatt was doing the Funhouse, right? And he's just this, when he was doing the smiling and hi kids and waving, but he's still kind of demonic and kind of crazy and can switch at any time. So it kind of feels like he's doing a little bit of that. I don't know. I just hope I'm just wondering where it's going to go, right? If it makes Big Bill a better character and also the bounty hunter, it makes those guys give a little more personality. Like I saw like Big Bill, like it was actually making some jokes, and I'm like, huh. I wonder if this is actually could make him funnier, because if it does that, if it builds up the other guys and I actually enjoyed those guys a little bit more, then the whole thing is not so bad. But if those guys aren't getting bigged up, or their personality or their character isn't being able to develop and connect with the crowd, then again, it's just another group led by Jericho with a bunch of guys that just follow him. All right. So, but anyways, I guess we'll see where that goes. You kind of brought just when you're talking about Hook, we're talking about the young guy. For some reason, it popped in. Who again? This is totally off topic, and it was until you kind of brought it up. What would you see? Would you, with a match with Hook and like a Nick Wayne, the two kind of young guys, very different styles, but are kind of looked at prodigies, or the ones that will be the pillars, and both young guys. Do you think it'd be a good matchup at this point, or do you still find that some of the guys, like a Hook, needs a more mature wrestler to guide him through the match as opposed to leading the match? What do you think of
I,
that matchup?
I,
And
I think, yeah,
yeah.
I think right now both of those guys need the veterans that they need. Like, again, Hook's got his dad, but now he's got Samoa Joe. So it's like he's got the veteran people working with him and all that stuff, which he needs to stick with. And the same thing with Nick Wayne, pairing up with someone like a Christian, like that is, and even someone like a Luchasaurus, because Luchasaurus has been around pro wrestling for a very long time. He's considered a veteran, So I think these young guys just pairing up with veterans is a really good thing.
Mhm.
It's almost like, when you start a new job and you when you're doing training for a job, and you're brand new, you kind of gravitate to someone who's been there for a long time at that place and kind of learn under their tutelage, so or like a student to a teacher, and
Mhm.
so I think with that, I think it's good that these young guys, as much as I think they can do a great match between those two, I think studying underneath the veterans right now will really help the longevity of their careers.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, right? It's like it's kind of like an apprenticeship in a way, right? That kind of, you learn you do every kind of crappy job there is and move up and you just learn, and keep that knowledge going, within that industry, within the business. So yeah, no, just thought I'd throw it out there. I think it'll be a match that we'll definitely see down the road. When these guys, I think, will keep on developing. I think there's going to be big things for Nick Wayne. I mean, he's just caught on for his age to do what he's doing. He's only going to get better as long as he doesn't, hurt himself doing some of these moves. But I just want to touch on the next one. You know, how do we like Roosh kind of being MJF's first opponent since MJF returned a few weeks back? And how do we like Rushkin kind of pushed up, actually, getting some airtime, getting some interview time, and going against someone like MJF? How do you feel about this?
I don't know who Roosh impressed backstage as far as personnel, but man, I'm happy to see him get a little bit of a push. I think we all agreed that he had a fine showing in that first Continental Classic tournament. He really did. He's got great in-ring skills. He's got a great presence to him. He's a great fill-in for Andrade, who left. I think Roosh kind of fills that, Mexican-based wrestler that's in AEW right now that can bring in that crowd, and with the El Blanco and all that stuff. I think he's the perfect person to fill in for this, and getting him set up against someone like an MJF. I think that's a good thing to get MJF back into the rhythm of things as far as his first match back, and his first feud back. Again, we're not probably going to see this feud last forever. It's just going to be a quick feud up to Forbidden Door, see them maybe wrestle Forbidden Door, and MJF moves on. It's going to be a quick, hey, here we go, a month or so, and boom, beat you at Forbidden Door. I'm moving on. I'm done with you. So, but I think Roosh is a good, valuable opponent for MJF for his return. And I'm actually excited to see these two kind of like their styles clash.
Mhm.
I'm actually kind of excited to see what else MJF brings to his arsenal. I mean, because we saw it, he just added the Brainbuster,
Yeah.
like that he did to Adam Cole at the paper. And it's like, where did that move come from? So I'm kind of interested in see what he adds to everything and kind of see where he kind of grows with all the moves and all that stuff. But I think this is a good match.
Yeah, no, so do I. And both of you guys, these guys are both super cocky. And I can't wait to see them both be super cocky with each other, right? Because they're typically like, when they're fighting somebody, they're the cockiest. I know they always have that bit of more of that heel side of things, but they are just very cocky. So I'm kind of looking forward to that part, and how, like, where they're just going to be out attitude each other. So that'll be fun. I think it'll be hard hitting because Roosh can hit hard, and like he's a tough guy. So I'm actually interested. I'm actually looking forward to this. I think we're going to get some "This Is Awesome" chance. I think it could be a great match. I think Roosh will be able to help if there's any ring rust at all. I think he could really make MJF look good too. So I think it is. I think you're right. It's a great opponent. I like, and it actually it works. And that with Forbidden Door, we always are the first thing we think of is, well, it's New Japan, so we're going to see like a bunch of the Asian wrestlers with the North American guys. But I like how, like, this year especially, they're doing a real emphasis on Mexican wrestlers, right? And saying, hey, no, this is all international. This is more of an international flair. So making sure they have like the European guys, or like, making sure that, you've got you're all across the board, right? So you've got the Europeans in there, you've got the Mexicans, you've got, you get the Japanese wrestlers. So again, it gives that flair to, if you're going to do a Forbidden Door type of international flair, you have to have everybody represented. So I like how they're doing that. So if these guys are getting a bit of a surge because of that, then great. Then to me it makes sense. So yeah, it'll be a good match. So I'm looking forward to that. Now we saw with the return of uh, Wheeler Huda came back. He was out for close to a year, right?
Wow, close, yeah.
With injury, and we see him come back, and right away, he's kind of thrown right back in the mix. And I know in the past weeks we were kind of wondering, questioning, with the BCC, is it kind of dwindling? Are the guys just going their separate ways? But I kind of see it felt like once that they finished the Anarchy in the arena. Where Danielson kind of can move back away from just being team AEW and get back with his boys, and it seemed like the perfect time that when that finishes, bring back Wheeler. Boom, let's showcase him, and right away they threw him in as a BCC with an 8-man tag match, and then the next night or the next couple of nights on Collision, they had Claudio and Wheeler in a tag match with FTR, which was a great match. So no, it's great. I think with this surge back, it gives them different looks again, right? Like I think those guys love to tag with each other. I think Wheeler and Claudio, from what it looks like, they enjoyed being a tag team. Like they work well. Or at least if they're willing to do it, there's more work for them. And Claudio's his what's he call it? The swing, like that is getting so over right now. Like it's so over that when he tried to do it, I think on Dax, and then what's his other name? What's his name? His partner,
Cash Wheeler.
Yeah, when he came and kind of like broke it up, there was actually boos, like, and then even the commentators like, "Wow, the crowd wanted the Claudio swing so badly that they're willing to boo FTR for stopping it." So it's awesome. If he's not going to get over with his personality, and Claudio's not the greatest on the mic, right? We know that. We know he's not about his personality. It's his strength and his moves and endurance, right? And his professional wrestling, how he can just be a monster if he needs to be. So I love it how that personality at least comes out in this move. And with his move, like everything stops and it focuses for like he did that really long one. It was like, it felt like 30 seconds to a minute. Like it's so I appreciate that it's like that he's found something, and fans are getting right behind it. But I don't know. What do you think that? What are your thoughts about the BCC and with Wheeler come back? Are they going to get that push? Do we see them kind of doing one last run together? They're going to stay for a bit. Like, what are your thoughts now that Wheeler's back and you've seen a bit difference?
Well, I think we're going to see one last run by the BCC. And the reason I say that is because obviously Brian Danielson is there, but he's on the pretty much tail end of his career. And so I think we're going to get one more run with him in the group, and then back to the trio, the three of them, just Wheeler, Claudio, and John. So I think, I don't know how much of a push they can get, considering they might just be together for Danielson to just have this one last run with his group. Because right now, even Danielson has nothing set up at Forbidden Door. So right now Moxley's got his title match against Naito, I think is who it was. And, Yuta and Claudio don't have anything planned up right now. As far as I know, a side note, FTR might be pulled from Forbidden Door because Dax was injured in that tag match, is what I read. So they might be pulled from Forbidden Door because of the injury. So, but for me with BCC, I think a group like that, I think it's kind of ran its course and it's kind of done its thing that it had to do. I mean, there's only so many storylines you can include that group in, and so many feuds that you could push that group in, that it's like, I'd rather see these guys as singles wrestlers. We forget that Wheeler is still the Ring of Honor pure champion, so it's like, and John Moxley is the IWGP heavyweight champion. Like we keep forgetting all this. So it's like, and then there's Claudio, so I think right now, I think a good push for singles would be nice. I wouldn't be upset if Wheeler and Claudio team up and be a tag team. and Moxley moves on. I mean, this whole thing started with Moxley and Danielson, this group. And so I think it's ran its course to where it's okay if these guys break off into little other branches, as long as those branches aren't under the learning tree. Chris Jericho.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
I think BCC has ran its course, and I'd like to see these guys kind of branch off, kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, they may just keep it, because you can just come back for special occasions, right? Kind of like, when the Shield came back as a reunion. Like people love that reunion stuff. So you don't have to. Sometimes they can kind of part ways a little bit, do their thing, but not officially say, "Hey, we're broken up." And you don't always have to have someone turn on, a member and blow everything up. So it could be one of those things that, hey, we're kind of doing our thing, but when we need to, once in a while, we'll come back together when it makes sense, right? Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. I think if Claudio and Wheeler, I think could be a good tag team. And I could see them if you pump those guys up and give them a good run. I could possibly see them as tag team champions.
Yeah.
They both been Ring of Honor champions and other champions. So, I think that would work out. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. We'll kind of push that the BCC get be interesting, but we'll see how that goes. So I guess now we know, and that the TNT title will now be decided with a ladder match. Now, have they said anything about when the finals? Is this at Forbidden Door as well? The final?
Yeah, the final is actually going to be at Forbidden Door. It is set there. So far, the participants is Kanosuke and Mark Briscoe. So those are the only two guys officially who won their matches to qualify for this. I don't know how many people they're going to have, but I know for a fact tomorrow we're going to have another one of Dustin Rhodes against Jack Perry. And the interesting thing about these qualification matches is everybody's barred from ringside during this. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like the Continental Classic where nobody comes in and interferes.
I like that actually. Who I'd love to see in this match and be really, really fitting is Christian. A ladder match, and he was just the TNT champion, and he just lost it to Adam, right, to Copeland. So it's kind of like, yeah, I should be getting the chance to get back into this, to get that title back. Like I could totally see him back in, and that we really need to actually see him interact with Jack Perry, because they haven't had an opportunity to have that kind of like finale, or now the fact that Jack Perry is a heel character like that'd be interesting to see that dynamic. So I'm hoping, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice. That'd be a fun match to see Christian in personally. I also am waiting to see, I think, Malachi. I think Malachi will be in the match as well. I could see those guys in it. I guess we'll have to see. Like, I wouldn't. I'm surprised. I wouldn't have picked Mark Briscoe. It just didn't. He didn't even. Actually, he doesn't really cross my mind that often. Maybe because I don't watch a lot of Rampage. I think he's a fixture on Rampage and or a Collision. Yeah, so I'm a little bit surprised to see about him in there. Now, Takeshita, did you say Kanosuke? That makes sense. Yeah, I can see. Remember we talked about, I know we kind of talked about is his possibility, and you thought he'd be a good candidate to run with the title. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who else. It kind of feels like they're keeping these matches a bit of a surprise. They're not just like bracket, 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 this is this, right? It's kind of like, now we're just going to do this. These are in. So I don't know if that's one of those things of keeping the suspense about who's actually going to at least compete for it. But yeah, it'd be interesting. So, I guess if you're, it's unfortunate you have an injury to the champion, but then, when the title gets freed up, it gives you an opportunity to have some of these little exciting tournaments, or, kind of one big deciding match at a pay-per-view, and gives maybe a random person, because it's a great way to start a story from scratch, right? Because now you don't really have to tie it into it. You have tied in. All you've done is created a match. It was just a elimination match, eliminator, boom, and just randomly, and you win. And all of a sudden, you can start with a brand new, fresh storyline. So I think it kind of gives them a bit of a break, and to kind of separate themselves from the past storylines and, okay, you know what? Let's go in a different direction, and we don't have to make it make sense, because we're just this is what it is, and now the story starts. Um, how do you feel? Do you think it's a bit of a fresh start in terms of storytelling, and you could go a completely different direction that they couldn't have unless they did something like this?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, obviously, we had that long storytelling between Adam and Christian. So I mean, with the payoff of multiple matches with Adam finally winning it, and the unfortunate dive off the ladder or the
Mhm.
cage, and the subsequent injury. And so I think this is a good refresh for the TNT title. I do feel like this would be good to give it to someone fresh. I understand your love for maybe Christian getting back into it, but Christian just had the world title match and lost that. So I don't know why he would be like from there and then back downgraded to a TNT title. And so for me, I do like the idea of fresh faces. Like you said, like a Takesha, like I said, that was my pick when we predicted of who we'd like to see hold the title. He was mine. Saying I thought he would have a good run with it and actually put some prestige in it. Mark Briscoe, another one, was a surprise, I think, to a lot of people. I like to see maybe a surprise, like someone, since this is a forbidden door, obviously you got to get some, either New Japan or CMLL guys in that match and everything like that. So maybe a Mystico, since he just appeared in that gauntlet match, maybe have him in a ladder match. I think he could do some great stuff in the ring and around the ring with the ladders and all that stuff, some good spots. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone from I don't know what other matches. I was pretty sure that they had other matches lined up, but I couldn't remember. I know for a fact just the one tomorrow night. I don't know if they announced any more for Rampage or Collision, but I know for a fact they have that one tomorrow night. So if anybody knows if there's any more matches that we didn't catch, just let us know, because I'm pretty sure there are more matches announced for that TNT ladder match at Forbidden Door. But yeah, I think starting fresh with a new champion is probably the way to go, and not put it on someone that's already had it already, or even like I could see where they're like, oh, put it on a veteran. I just don't see that as much as what Christian did with the title was great, and Copeland was good with the Cope Open. I think a fresh face with the title can do good for AEW.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if actually Jack Perry ends up winning it. And then it's like, see, we were just gonna give it to him anyways. And he wins the tournament or with all these matches. He went through it and he's still our guy. Right. So, and that would make sense because then he's gone through it, then the cockiness is all there, and then everyone has a title. So I think this is a perfect time to, if you're gonna keep up with the elite and run with the storyline, it kind of looks a bit funny when you've got three guys have gold and one doesn't. So I think this is a great way to do it. Give it to Jack Perry, and then at least for the time, for at least for a while, all four of them will have like all the titles, right? So I think that really just will add to the elite. So, I'm going to change my pick. I think Jack Perry is going to take this one, not because I necessarily like him. I think that's what they want for the storyline, and to get that real heat for the elite. Oh, look at that! I even did a little rhyme there. So I guess we'll wait and see. But I think regardless, that'll be a great match. And I guess it kind of segues into what I want to mention, anyways. And this ladder match will be an example of that. And that it's going to be a great match. I think one thing that AEW has done really well is when they have like these gauntlet matches. The just like when you've got multiple guys in the ring at the same time, 8-man tags, or just more of these kind of crazy matches, especially, the gauntlet match, for example, a few weeks back, as an example as well of, I thought it was a fantastic match personally. And I'm always in awe of the coordination that these guys have. I mean, you've got guys jumping in, running in. I know it's a lot of spots, but again, there's still a lot of coordination. There's a lot of movement, and the guys that are usually in these matches, it feels like more and more they purposely put the high flyers in these matches, just because you can do so much more with multiple guys doing the multiple moves, and then you've got multiple guys to catch them, right? So it just feels that they love doing. And I really find really feel that that's one major strength of AEW is those kind of matches. They happen to get the right guys together that just work really really well with each other and pull off some amazing moves. Um, Much better than I think if I compare some of these matches with WWE. I mean, granted, there's some really good guys in there, but they just don't have the same smoothness. I just find that AEW is really good at that. I don't know if you've noticed that, or if you've over the time that's one of the things that they've done really well. Have you noticed that, or feel that way at all?
A little bit. I think the pace of matches is a little better than it has been in the past, and I don't know. I don't really have a take on it. Again, it's just the way that AEW is and how it operates in its matches. You're gonna have different styles clash all over the place in AEW. You're gonna have different styles clash in WWE, TNA. I think it just goes for all pro wrestling. Is that each promotion's gonna have that brand of in ring style, and the idea of just mashing them so well together that it just makes for entertainment, entertainment pro wrestling,
Hmm.
and as fans, I keep repeating myself, but I think it's a good time to be a pro wrestling fan because how well those ring styles mash so well together. Like you said, the gauntlet match with, these CMLL guys coming, jumping high flying against, the hard hitters in the ring, like a Jay White and a Will Ospreay. So I really don't have, a view of how I feel about how it's different or anything like that because every promotion can do that where they can mesh styles of different wrestlers. Look at WWE where they mesh the style of like a big man like a Braun Strowman against a little guy like a JD Madonna. So it's like you match those styles in a match too. So yeah, no, I really don't have a take on that other than that.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe it's just a credit to professional wrestling in general that these guys there's just again, I'm in awe of the communication, the coordination, to pull off some of these moves. Like I couldn't even pull it off if it was like, okay, stop, walked you through it. That these guys, it's like split decision, the split seconds of movements, and just like I just find it's amazing. So I don't know if it's just the craft has just keeps on progressing, right, and gets even better. Like the way I'm sure there's other types of communication they do. Um, and then I always hear these things like, "Oh, we didn't hardly even said a word in the ring." I'm like, how? Like we just had fluid. Everything was fluid, which I think it still boggles my mind because it's like dance partners, right? That is so in sync. And I guess then that's one of the things that makes those bonds so special, and that's why they have such get all kind of emotional, right? Is because of to have that type of synergy. You have to really know somebody, right, and then anticipate that. So, obviously you see that a lot in New Japan. They get down and and Will Ospreay's great at it. He's always about showing respect and love for a great performer and great performance. So, but yeah. So, anyways, I just thought I'd bring that up. I just noticed that just some of the matches, and again, some of the wrestlers they brought in that to create these matches, and agree, it is entertainment, and they do a great job of it. And I think a lot of the especially with the crowd reactions that they've had to these, it's a big thing for a lot of people, right? It's just great entertainment, especially live. Which is great. And so I wanted to, I guess, one of the things I've noticed recently is, and actually, to again, I sound like a bit of a mark as I'm saying how great everything for All Elite Wrestling, because that's not a typical wrestling fan. Um, that I really enjoy the vignettes that they've been doing. That the production they've done, recent ones that which were really good. Roderick Strong, him with running up the steps, in the black and white. And I love they did a great one. Swerve has had a couple of good ones, and then even did Daniel Garcia had a vignette, which is great. I think it's a great way. Because the style is a little bit different. It's almost like they're telling us a bit of the story about the person, right? The person behind the character, which again, everyone loves to see a bit of that. You see the hardships, like what that person's actually done, right? That build that story. Whether that's a story of redemption, or the person that's come up from the gutter, to work his way up. Um, so I actually I like the production style that they've been doing. Those ones in particular. I know. You know, they do great ones with Malachi Black as well. I love that some of that work, right? And it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how much of these are actually input from the actual wrestlers themselves, or if it's like a Bruce Pritchard who just all does everything, kind of says, hey, this is what we're doing and this is what, just follow the direction. But I don't know, how do you feel? Do you find the AEW does a good job of these vignettes in terms of kind of telling some story and some build up?
I've always been a fan of vignettes. I think they've always been great storytelling in the world of professional wrestling. I do think AEW is getting better and better with them too. And I do feel like they really go all out come pay per view season, when you're getting close to a pay per view and they're showing all these vignettes to kind of build up towards that pay per view. I mean, someone like a Stephanie Vacor that Mercedes Monet is about to go against, they've been talking about her a little bit and kind of building her up a little bit with some vignettes and about her history. Can't wait to see more of that. So, I mean, anything they do vignette with Tony Storm, I think anytime Tony Storm does a vignette in the black and white, and I think it's brilliant. So for me, vignettes are just an additional layer on top of the storytelling cake that AEW does, and I'm not taking away from any other company. WWE, really don't see them doing a lot of vignettes. They're doing more like promo videos of returns and all this stuff, or like just history of someone, or like backstage segment. Someone like the promos of for right now in NXT, Wendy Cho just came back tonight, but they've been showing vignette like videos of her, like Wendy returns soon, like something like that. But it doesn't really make you feel like, oh, cool. No, it's just like, oh, okay, she's coming back. Where these vignettes that AEW does, you get the story and you get the feel of why I should invest my time in this person, as well as why should I invest my time in the match they're about to have with this person. So I do like that from the aspect of AEW. But again, another thing that I think differentiates all these companies with the video packages and the vignettes and all that stuff is AEW does have great production. They're not on production value of what a WWE does, but again, WWE uses that for more promo videos, more, I wouldn't say advertisement kind of related videos and stuff like that. And it's more so that they've got the production value if they can do that. But with AEW, they take their production value and they make it something. And they make it something that you care about. And that's what these vignettes are. So we're like, dude, this vignette's awesome. And, the camera, not the best, like not the most expensive camera, but it's an expensive camera where they can use the tilting tricks and all that stuff and kind of get you intrigued with the character that's talking, and so I will say I do enjoy the vignettes that AEW is doing right now, and I hope they continue them and make them even better and on a better scale, especially when we get closer to like All In.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess a couple other that came up is the NJF, his little video, as they return walking through the hallway and going into the room. And that was interesting. And they did a great one when Adam Copeland joined on and had him in the car, right, getting to the arena and that whole kind of going. And so that was different. So, which is really good. And they've done with what's his name? Oh my God, I can't believe, with the face paint, the skeleton face paint. Darby.
Darby.
Darby, I can't believe I forgot your name. They've done a lot of good vignettes with him over the years as well to build up his character. So yeah, no, it's good. I think they're doing something. They're doing a lot of right things. For everything that all the things that people complain about with AEW, I do feel like they do put a lot of effort into some of these things, right? And I really feel it shows. But I guess I'll touch on what I think it's what the next kind of feud that looks like it's leading up to, and maybe we'll see this at Forbidden Door. But I think this kind of storyline with Orange Cassidy and Willow coming in to save him, and Statlander and Trent Beretta. I mean, do you see it's kind of setting up as a intergender match at Forbidden Door to have a tag team? I mean, it looks like how can you not, right? Um, so, but which I think, which is fine actually. I don't mind it. I don't mind the use of this characters this way. I don't mind Statlander's new attitude with Stokely. I think that's actually working out. And I do like Trent Beretta wearing the black suit and all black, like a hired hitman, kind of a part of the Don Callis family. Um, so I'm actually probably more interested in what they're doing than I thought I would, because I wasn't sure where they were going to go. But I do like this, and I'm actually more invested in these characters, and I do like how there's still a connection with Trent Beretta and Statlander, even though they've kind of got their own new managers. They still are kind of together. They still have this kind of like unique team. So I don't know. It's interesting. So I mean, that's what I think they're going. I don't know if that's obvious, but what are your thoughts on these new kind of character developments and the way they're kind of building up these feuds?
I like it. I will touch upon the whole Willow, helping out Orange Cassidy from the beatdown, and still the unfinished business with Chris and the unfinished business with Trent and Orange. I do see a 6-person match at Forbidden Door, but I could see it on 0 hour. Maybe I don't think it would be on the main card, but it could be on the 0 hour where it's Orange, Willow, and maybe Shibata. And it could be Trent, Chris, and someone else from either New Japan or CMLL as their team that's
Well,
affiliated with Don Callis.
Well, did you see who came back? The guy I've been talking about, and it's like a perfect fit. He just came in wearing black suit. Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle Fletcher. Yeah.
Kyle Fletcher came back, and I was like,
Yeah.
there you go. That's a tag team.
I
They're
mean, you
all
could do that. Yeah, you could do that. But again, I think, like I said, yeah, I guess you could add that to the 0 hour. You could have that as like as a team where it's Trent, Kyle, and Chris against Orange, Willow, and Shibata, maybe. Unless Shibata still is
or
mingled into
I think Rocky would make
Rocky Romero could be
would
another
make
one
more
that can be
sense
added
there.
into that, with Willow and Orange.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I do like, yeah, I do like this development of stories with that group. Still waiting to see the payoff for Trent. Obviously, losing twice in a row kind of hurt him. I'm hoping that maybe if they do this tag match, that maybe they can get one over on Orange and let Trent pin him, and just so Trent can say, "I pinned you," finally.
Mhm,
So it'd be nice to have, even though saying it, because you see it a lot in pro wrestling, but have the bad guys win that one,
mhm.
because they can use that, especially with someone like a Kyle Fletcher just coming back, and he's the Ring of Honor television champ, so you have to make him look good. You have to bounce Trent back from his 2 straight losses. Chris, obviously hasn't been doing much since she lost the title and kind of had to be in the shadows of Willow's run to the TBS title. So I do like the development of the story. I'm very interested to see where it goes. Obviously, I do feel like it's going to build up to a 6-person match at Forbidden Door again on the pre-show. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we could do that and kind of, move past this and let, Trent, Chris, and, rest of Don Callis people kind of move on to something else and, move on from this Orange Cassidy, Willow, Rocky Romero feud and let those guys do other stuff, kind of, move past it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I am getting tired of seeing Orange getting jumped and beat up. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, like enough. Okay, we've seen it enough now, right?
Yeah.
Can you maybe have him anticipate something coming now since he's been beat up every week? Um, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if I still see a 6-man, and I could see if they're just trying to have that and get enough. Because you would have that flair. Like if you did add like a Kyle Fletcher, is he Australian?
Yeah.
right? So now you're bringing in international, and then Rocky, he has a lot of tie-in, right, with New Japan and
Mhm.
within the United States. So yeah, and then you're kind of adding him, so he's kind of that international flair as well. So if you're trying to get as many people on the card as possible, that with the continue with the international, roster, then that would make sense. Be interesting to see. But I was actually happy to see Kyle Fletcher back. I've mentioned him. I'm becoming a big fan of his, and I know he's young guy. He's young. I keep on forgetting, like, because he's where he's at. He's probably the same age as like freaking Hook. I think Kyle Fletcher's what, 24, 25.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And he's got some good experience already for that age. So I mean, God, you think of this guy's when he's 30 with 5 more years experience, the guy's going to be a maniac. I think he's going to be he's going to hold a belt for sure, another belt. But so that's interesting. And we saw again the I guess on Collision the main event from this past week was Kyle O'Reilly, versus Orange Cassidy, and good match. We talked last week about Kyle O'Reilly, the matches he's had, the quality matches, and they're putting him in a lot of these main events, but he lost again, right? So it kind of like, from what we were talking about, is this setting up that he gets fed up, right? Because you have the Kingdom, right? They wrote it again saying, hey, man, we're rooting for you. Hey, we're here for you. And he's like, no, guys, I don't need you. I don't need you. But is this kind of leading up to this frustration that he's finally just going to like blow a gasket and then accept the help, enjoying the Kingdom to and they're going to keep on like, hey man, look, you're not doing so well on your own. Just, let us just join us and, we'll have your back. Are we seeing, is there some kind of build up to this, you think?
I don't know, really, is it build up to that? But it's built up to something for Kyle, because Kyle does deserve a little bit of a good push. I mean, the guy just came back from one of the hardest, closest season, like career-ending injuries in a neck. With a neck injury, and so I just hope they push him a little differently, because he has been taking a lot of L's recently, and since he's returned, like he's gotten a couple of wins, but those wins were against like a couple just feeder guys before his match against Roderick.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's had a couple of good matches, like we had mentioned with Malachi, Adam Copeland, all those guys. And so I don't know. I just don't want to see someone like a Kyle O'Reilly go to waste. I understand them trying to push him as a solo, but maybe he does need to go back to a group or a tag team. Maybe that's where he thrives. Will it be with Undisputed Kingdom? I'm not sure. All depends on what they do with Wardlow. If they get rid of Wardlow and replace him with a Kyle O'Reilly, that could be a possibility. But I think right now, if they're gonna push him as a singles guy, they need to get him some quality wins and not just feed him against really quality guys and keep losing.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, I think my prediction is before he finally either finishes up wrestling or before he leaves AEW, he's gonna win a title at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what title it'll be. I don't know if it's going to be a Ring of Honor title or it'll be a AEW title, but he's going to win a singles title somewhere within AEW slash Ring of Honor. And so it just more so of they've got to get him the quality wins and not just keep feeding him into these great matches that we love, but he's got to pull some wins out of them as well.
I agree. Yeah. I agree, because again, if eventually the fans are starting to get irritated, like, come on, man, throw the guy a bone, right?
Yeah.
It's the same as when we've talked about this in the past, right? We talked about this like when and I had also said that Tony Khan does come back to reward the guys that put guys over. He did that with Mark Briscoe. Right, when Mark was taking all the losses, all of a sudden, boom! You keep put out the Ring of Honor World Champion, the title on the guy, and he's in some pretty big matches. So and gave him that. So he is good. Like an example, another guy that's kind of doing it right now. It'll be interesting to see is Johnny TV. He's been having a few more matches, but then again, and I think too, and I know we don't, because we see wrestling from a certain angle and perception, right? Is because we're the fans, but this is also livelihood, right? And and these guys don't take maybe the wins and losses as big as we take them, where they're like, hey man, like I've been working solid on TV on prime time 4 weeks in a row. I'll take it. I'll lose every time. If that puts me and gives me the chance to be, and again, it gives that showcase, to these guys, that's working. That is getting time. That is getting, time to get themselves over with the fans, showcase, right? So someone like a Johnny TV is going to take advantage of that. I mean, he's good at that. Like a Kyle O'Reilly, like he's, we're like kind of saying, okay, now he needs to get some wins in, but he's maybe like, you're going to put me 4 weeks in a row with like 4 or 5 top guys in the company, and I have to lose, but I'm going to get main event. Okay. Right. So, you know what I mean? So they could be just as happy as that, because that's maybe the goal for these guys, is if they just want to perform. At the end of the day, this is a coordinated, show, and it's entertainment, right? And they want to put on a show. Yes, of course, there's status symbol, and you want to be the champion. Everyone wants to be the champion, and gives you that, you make more money and more time as a leader in the company. But some of these guys are like, hey man, I'll work it. I just want to be in front of the crowd. Give it to me, right? So I don't know. Do you think sometimes we play too much into that, where they're just happy to be on TV and happy to get time spots and just happy to be wrestling some of the best talent in the world?
Yeah, I think when you mention that, I think we talk about bloated rosters and how, I mean, I had mentioned it before about how hard it is to get on a card, just to even, not even just a pay-per-view card, but just a card on television. Like, because you want to be seen on TV. That, I mean, you not only got the live crowd there, but you got people at home, like millions of people at home watching, so it is, for us, we want to see these guys kind of, obviously there's competition of, okay, here's who's going to go where on the card, here's who made the card for this show tonight. And it's very hard when you got a roster that's that big, that everyone's competing for a spot on the TV show or competing for a spot on pay-per-view. And we always want the best people on there, but we also want the most compelling ones, the ones that can tell a story, the ones that not only have the in-ring ability, but on the mic ability, and just, again, can just tell, just push a feud, and get a story going. So I think for us as fans, yeah, we would like to see more of these top guys on there. But again, you also have to look at your middle people and even the people that are just fresh. I understand we got Ring of Honor. We can throw some of them over there as almost like, it's not much of a development, although it's feeling like one, but more so of people getting time in the ring so they don't get ring rust. You know what I mean? So I do feel, as fans, we do feel like, yeah, it's kind of hard to see certain people on TV week in and week out and not seeing other people there. But again, it's got to push stories as well. So if certain stories working, those people are going to show up every week. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of time the fans, I mean, we may give criticism to always seeing Orange Cassidy, but they're still a good fan base, for him, and he does. From what I kind of read, that a lot of guys do have a lot of respect for him, and guys who are actually wrestlers defend him and say, like, people who think he's just a gimmick wrestler. No, he's not just a gimmicky wrestler. He's actually a really good professional wrestler. So a lot of guys do defend him, and I got to say, I'm sure merchandise also has a bit of a say, right? Because merchandise is also a bit of an indicator of where the fans are willing to spend their money on and who they're getting behind, right? I mean, that's probably why we did see Danhausen as much as we did, right? Even though people were like, wow, we didn't see enough of him, right? At the same time, some people are like, oh my God, this guy's killing me. But again, he's someone who probably, because of merchandise, it made sense. They have him on TV and sell merchandise, because at the end of the day, they're in the business to make money, right? So, again, we got MJF there, for example. He's got that new that new T-shirt, that new logo he's got there, I guess, with the lion. But I love it. Like, he's got that print, whatever that print is.
I think
called.
It's a wolf. I think it's a wolf.
Is it a wolf? Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, you may be right. It is a wolf. Again, and he's kind of like, that's a great way to new character, bring him out, and we're going to sell some new merchandise, right? So, I'm sure that must be an indicator on some of these guys as well. So, but I just wanted to touch on. Um, I have actually been finding Nigel McGuinness is actually getting better on the mic. Like, I don't know what it is. He's always been good. And again, I used to. He was good on when he was with NXT, but he fills a role that we don't get a lot. We used to get a lot in like the 80s, right? The guys that were quick-witted, were funny, like the Bobby Heenans, on the mic, the Jesse Venturas, um, the guys that were really good, even Jerry the King Lawler, right? These kind of guys that were really good on the mic. And he's funny. Like he's just like it was like, example. He said the other night, when Kyle O'Reilly came back into the ring to help save Orange Cassidy, and Kyle Fletcher was in there as well in the ring, and then he's making the comment like, "Ah, the better of the two, the better of the two Kyles," right? When they're beating up on him, he made a funny joke. When Claudio was fighting Johnny TV the other week, and he was giving him in the swing, and Johnny's hair was flying. He's like, "Oh, look at that gorgeous hair fly!" Like he just the comments that he makes are just so if you listen, like he's just really funny. I mean, actually finding him really entertaining. Um, and again, I think people loved his storytelling and how I think he added to the Christian character and the way he really pumped the patriarch. I think he does a great job of really helping with the storyline with some of these heels. How do you know? How do you feel about Nigel? Are you
I
are
like
you a fan of
Nigel.
Nigel?
I like Nigel. I think what he came from when he was over in NXT to now what he's doing over here. It's because a lot of people got to remember he also did a lot of NXT UK. I mean, that's
Mhm.
most of where he spent his time as a commentator. And him coming over to AEW and kind of playing up all the heels. I mean, you can see that. And really, what I'm seeing is he's kind of the equivalence of a Wade Barrett, or a Corey Graves. That heelish
Mhm.
commentator who always is like for the heels and never the faces. So I mean, the times he would talk about Tony Storm, he's like the elegant Tony Storm. It's like rise for your timeless. She's beautiful. Like he's just like all of that, and then like you said, the Christian Cage kind of stuff. Like he's just like the father of the year coming down the ring with his family. Like I'm like Nigel, dude, you are killing it right now. I love it. But yeah, no, I think he does great. I think he does great stuff as a commentator. I think he's got that heelish commentator persona of where he's always for the bad guys, never for good guys. Like you said, like a Bobby Heenan,
Mhm.
who's always talking about how that good guy cheated. He should have won. Like it was,
Mhm.
it's that's how Bobby was. So I think Nigel, the way he plays it up is really cool. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think he does a great job. I'm always looking forward um, to when he gets on commentary and just what he says next.
I love that. Anybody who refers to themselves as like a um, broadcast journalist, I love, right? Because that's like what Bobby Heenan would say. I think Corey Graves would also make comments and call himself a broadcast journalist as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. I would. There's a pretty good comparison with Corey Graves and with Nigel. There is a similarity. In terms of the way that there's some funny stuff. I would not put Pat McAfee in that. I find him very annoying as a commentator in WWE. So yeah, I know he tries to be funny, but I'm not a fan. But as we approach the hour here, just wanted to touch on, and again, it's not quite AEW related, but it is also kind of AEW related, which happened this past week. It was the NXT Battleground, their premium live event, and we had Ethan Page making his debut, and right in the like I said, the NXT Championship match, um, which was actually great to see. I think there's a lot of people who really liked Ethan Page. A lot of people thought he was underutilized here. Never really got the real big opportunity people were hoping for. Has done a lot of great work. I was actually really surprised that for WWE to pick up someone like this and throw him right into, as a main event guy in NXT. So kudos for that. I mean, he must have really impressed these guys, or they really saw like, he had something special, or maybe he's like they need something like him like right now, like they're lacking that type of heel with that type of experience to give, to kind of. Was it Trick? Was it Trick Williams? Was that who he was
Mm,
fighting?
yeah.
And maybe Trick is still that type of guy that needs someone with that kind of experience to lead the match to make him to make him look good, which I think Ethan did a good job of doing that. Now, if you notice, it took note at all. If you watched it, it was a pretty quick match. I think it was around 12 minutes as opposed to a typical 20-25 minutes match for something like this for a premium light event or a pay-per-view. They kind of kept it short and sweet. And not a lot of back and forth in terms of, I think Ethan did a great job of carrying it, but there wasn't enough of those um, false pins or like those really close calls. Like there wasn't a lot of that build up at those, from the crowd. It was just kind of like bang, hit him with the knee, boom, and pin, right? Kind of a quick pin at 12 minutes. I don't know. Did you have a chance to see it, and what are your thoughts on Ethan Page getting an opportunity like that right off the bat?
I didn't see much of it. I actually I followed a lot of it on social media to see what was going on. Um, but you know what? As much as I love Ethan Page, I'm glad they didn't say, "Hey, we'll throw this title on this new guy, keep it on Trick because he's been our guy for NXT and all that stuff." But I did like the idea of Ethan getting thrown right into the fire. Because now you're looking at someone like just Ethan Page, and now you have Shawn Spears over in WWE and NXT. So you got those two guys over there. And actually, I want to touch on something that Connor just commented. Uh, he says apparently Wardlow could be heading to NXT really soon. I don't know where he heard that. But I did read tonight on NXT that Cody Rhodes announced that the next challenger for Trick will be determined in a battle royal, 25 men, and they're coming from different locker rooms. Locker rooms.
Oh, so TNA guys.
TNA guys, but I can see where Connor might say, hey, it could be Wardlow. But again, we don't know what's going on with Wardlow's contract over in AEW, so but for me, Wardlow does seem like a WWE typo. Like I feel like he fits in with the WWE style, kind of like what a Jade Cargill is. I think Jade Cargill fits perfectly well with WWE style. So I think he would be beneficial in WWE, just because I think we all agree that AEW has just wasted his character. And if this is a good opportunity for him, I know people say, well, WWE already has big guys over there. It's like, yeah, but Wardlow fits in with that. I'm like, you could still have big guys. I mean, you have big guys all over the place. You still got a Braun Strowman. Damian Priest is still a big guy. Braun Breaker. Now you bring in Wardlow. So, I mean, you're going to have a big guy locker room. So, but yeah, no, I do think it's cool. I also did think it's cool that they brought in Jordan Grace and, let her put over, Roxanne Perez to keep her NXT women's title. So I do think that they're heading in the right direction with NXT. I still don't feel like it's a third brand, even though they're trying to make it one. I still feel like it's a developmental brand right now. But I love that they're bringing in these names over to NXT. Like a Brian Pillman Jr., who's Alexis King. So I do like that they're doing that. So to see where it goes from here with Ethan Page, who knows? Does he get a call up, to the main roster? Who knows? But after reading the article tonight about the results of NXT, and he's saying people from different locker rooms, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a North reunion with him and Josh Alexander.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. So different locker rooms. Okay, so you're potentially going to have maybe a couple guys from TNA. You're going to have guys from NXT. You're going to have some guys from Raw and some guys from SmackDown. So already that there's 4 different locker rooms, right? So you could easily do that within your own brands, and having a bit of this connection and partnership with TNA. I mean, God, if you had Moose come over, like the TNA champion, because if you had the women's TNA champion involved, why wouldn't you have a big guy like that? Would be
a lot of word going around is Joe Hendry too. A lot of people are pushing for Joe Hendry to make an appearance on NXT.
Huh.
He's got a big following over in TNA, and he's just got a big following. He's very talented over there.
Hmm. So that'd be interesting. So, it'd be interesting to see, and it's about time. And I really like this direction that under Triple H of where they're going. You know, there's a they want to be they also want to be known. They're not just sports entertainment. Everything's gone back now. It's professional wrestling, which I love. It all stems. Bottom line, it's all professional wrestling. So I do like that under Triple H that he's like, no, we're just going to have some of the best professional wrestling is here. We're the original, and it was built on professional wrestling. So I do like that they're kind of going back to that, that they are entertaining some of the same type of things that AEW has done. So you know what? Competition is good, right? There's in like Evan says, hey man, if there's more jobs for wrestlers, then it's a good thing, right? And it's just more work and more exposure and more options, right? So and it drives entertainment, drives the competition, it just drives better, right? It's bigger and better. So so I like it. I mean, again, your take, how you what do you I know you mentioned or how do you feel on that? What I was just rambling
Yeah.
about.
I'll say it once and I'll say it again. It is a great time to be a pro wrestling fan right now, with all the brands doing so well, and even certain brands working together. Going back to the golden days of territories trading wrestlers. So
Mhm.
I like that they're kind of bringing that back and making it feel old school again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And with that, as we come up to almost, we're over an hour here. So, but I thought some great conversations as we wrap up this week. And before we do that, Adam, I'll pass it over to you. As any previews going on this week? I know there's your show on Thursday, and we also have Connor does his live reactions on Wednesday for Dynamite as well. But anything that you got planned for Thursday for your show?
No, not at all. I haven't kind of figured it out yet. I don't know if I'm also taking a break because I've just been going nonstop with shows every week with this, and the new job is always tiring. So I guess we'll have to find out Thursday if I'm going to do a show, and depending on if I do a show, which I'm hoping I'm going to do. Again, I haven't written anything down. I've been so busy that haven't had some ideas. I'm sure I'll think of one tomorrow with my day off. But yeah, excuse me, I'm burping up. Really great to drink all that water. Apologize on camera too. Yeah, no. I mean, I know we do have the live reaction to Dynamite tomorrow, so make sure everybody tunes in for that. Again, we do have my show on Thursday, and then live reaction to Collision on Saturday. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun week to watch some pro wrestling and talk some pro wrestling.
Awesome. Well, it was always a pleasure. Always never a shortage of conversation with you, Adam, and we can always just talk for hours and hours. So, but it's great. So thanks again. It was great to have you on board again for another week. It was just the two of us, which again, it's not an issue for us. We can fill it, no problem. And just tuning in now, I'll go back and watch what I missed. Thanks, Josh. Really
Yes,
appreciate
thank you,
it. Thanks
Josh.
for tuning in. And thanks to everybody who for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Please, if you haven't yet, please tell your friends and family to like and subscribe. We're here every Tuesday night here on All Elite Zone on YouTube. And for another week, thanks again, and enjoy the world of professional wrestling. And we'll do it all again next Tuesday night. Cheers, guys. Thanks. See you.